Hello all, it's James Johnson aka Sulphur Blade, and I am here to talk to you about the riots in Portland. So, some of you might be like, riots in Portland, aren't those over? No, they're not. The riots in Portland are still going on. But you don't hear about it on the news because rioting in Portland has just become like normal behavior. That is oddly where we are at in today's society, is that the crazy left doing crazy things is just another normal day. But it's not. You know, the fact that all of these district attorneys in many of our major cities across the country being funded by George Soros, this is fact, to espouse a radical new idea that they shouldn't actually arrest people, but they should release them, is certainly interesting. Because now it's all these exact same cities where rioting is still an ongoing issue. Like, for instance, Portland, where we have the Multnomah County DA, Schmidt, who was elected with the help of George Soros money, and who believes everyone should be released for everything they do. Well, here is just another story in the long-standing list of oddities that is the United States these days. Why are these people rioting in these specific areas where these specific DAs are? And how are these rioters so well funded? How are they being, well, bailed out instantly? Well, that's not hard because the DAs release them instantly. But in the circumstances that they do need bail, they are being bailed out by powerful, influential people, from actors in Hollywood to, again, the big bad boogeyman George Soros, to actual Democratic politicians like Nancy Pelosi and Joe Biden. Yes, the Joe Biden campaign has actually spent money to bail rioters out of prison. This is not just some made-up conspiracy theory. This is fact. Anyway, let's look at the story. So, remember the riots? It wasn't too long ago that the news was filled with reports of violent protests in Portland, Seattle, Washington, D.C., and other cities around the nation, and then silence. Networks and newspapers are going wall-to-wall with the analysis of every syllable uttered by President Trump's doctors as he's treated for the coronavirus. Of course, that's news, but in the meantime, other news, like the continuing plague of violence in those cities and elsewhere, has virtually disappeared from the coverage. But it's still there. A look at the Portland Police Twitter page from last night shows yet another march and confrontation with police. Nobody bothers to keep count of the number of consecutive nights there has been violence. The march has arrived at the new courthouse at 1200 Southwest 1st Avenue. Police tweeted between 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. local time Sunday. Some participants have begun vandalizing the building. Do not do this. You are subject to arrest. To the van supporting the march, it is unsafe and illegal to drive the wrong way on a one-way street. As the marchers continued, police warned vandalism to the courthouse will not be tolerated. If you commit vandalism, you are subject to arrest or the use of force. Remember when Democratic leaders and their allies in the media blamed it all on Trump? But with the president in the hospital 2,800 miles away, and with Democrats and media talkers consumed by other stories, the protests have continued. At the courthouse, as the Indefatigable Street journalist Andy No reported, the rioters began to vandalize a building that cost taxpayers $324 million, and took 4 years of construction time. 6 people were arrested. Even more serious was an attack on a police officer. On Sunday morning, a Portland officer was doing paperwork in his car when a rioter smashed a window and filled the car with pepper spray. So this cop was just sitting there minding his own business in his marked patrol car, filling out some paperwork as he's parked on the side of the road, and some random asshat runs up to the side of his car, breaks out his rear window, and fills the car with pepper spray. What a kind gift. On Sunday morning, a Portland officer was doing paperwork in his car when a rioter smashed a window and filled the car with pepper spray. The officer managed to radio a description of his attacker, who was later arrested in a car that police had been following earlier. Inside the vehicle, officers found window punch tools, pepper spray, throwing knives, a laser pointer, a slingshot, rocks, and more. Police noted, as you can see in the police photo below, it was a whole rioter's toolkit. The packets of Sudocon are for self-treating pepper spray exposure. Police reported that the suspect was a 41-year-old Portland man named John B. Russell. And there you are. There's his mugshot with the Multnomah County tag on it and all. And again, Multnomah County is D.A. Schmidt's territory, who is funded by what? George Soros money? Who is known for letting people go? Right? And we also... And never mind, I'm not going to go into the who supports BLM and Antifa, but I think you guys can probably figure it out. Here's another article on the same thing, though you get to see a little bit larger section of the hood. He's evidently got a Raiders hat here, some gloves, whatever this is in the baggie. But yeah, that's everything from a zoomed out perspective. And here's Andy tweeting about the situation. A Portland police officer was ambushed in an attack. A man smashed the cop car's window and maced him. He escaped in a car but was caught. John B. Russell, 41, was found carrying knives, a laser pointer, rocks, slingshots, and other weapons used at Antifa riots, Portland, Oregon. So look at that. Citation: assault of a police officer. $0 bail. Released. Imagine that. A criminal who decides to just randomly fill a police car full of pepper spray has already been released without even having to pay bail. That is the world we live in, folks. And that asshat right there, if you live in the Portland area, look out for him. He's part of the militant left. Anyway, this has just been a short video on this, reminder that the Portland riots are still happening on a daily basis. Thanks to money from people who have too much of it, that want to create chaos for unknown purposes inside of the United States, whether it's just because they hate the United States or not. And you know the person I'm referring to, George Soros. Anyway, I'm James Johnson, aka Sulfurblade. This is my content. Hopefully you're enjoying it. If so, please leave a like and subscribe. And until the next time, all. Peace.